What an insane game to start the season. The Montreal Canadiens come out with a 1-0 shutout victory. Samuel Montembeault with over 40 saves. We're going to be breaking it all down with Leafs Digest, plus talking about some Habs news, including Gustav Lindstrom being signed. Leafs fellas, how are you feeling? What's on your mind?
It was a brutal opening night. We started off with the horrible news today about Joseph Wall, which you have an update on that we'll break down with you guys as well. But the Leafs got shut out for the first time in a very long time in their first game with their brand new coach, and quite frankly, it was a bit of a mess. But there are some things to take away, so I'm excited to talk about it. But a rough way to start the year.
Hey, well, you know what? For you guys, not so much for us. Welcome everyone into the chat. We got lots of chatters here on Habs Digest, lots on Leafs Digest. Jesse, Darius, I got to get your guys' opinions too. How excited are we now before we jump into this inaugural duo stream?
I'm excited for the game, but I'm excited to do this as well. The first time getting to do this after the game, it's absolutely unreal to be here with you guys because this was just like such a close one. This is such a game kind of worth our discussion to really get down to because we saw Toronto had their chances for sure, but Monty was strong. It was just this good overall game. Like when we're looking at like who stood out for Montreal, like for sure Hutson has moments, but like just a strong overall effort. And that's what they really needed to get the W here tonight.
Yeah, there was a lot to like from the Leafs as well, and a lot not to like, and we're seeing it in the comments already. So it was an intense game. Like I felt like it was almost like a playoff game because the Leafs are coming in with a new coach, a new style, new strategy, right? So there was a lot to break down, and we're going to do that in this stream. So I'm excited to be here, guys, and this is really exciting.
That's right, brother versus brother. We see lots of chats, boys. I don't know what your chat's saying. Ours is all talking about Monty the Brick Wall. Someone asked me if I was wearing a Leafs jersey. It might look like it, but it absolutely is not. It's our boy Carey Price. But guys, the first thing I did want to get into before we get into the game, and I'll get your guys' opinion on this in a bit. We will get into the game in just a minute, but there is some news we wanted to discuss first. And well, it's not him. Where's the picture? I got to get to it. There it is. We tweeted this. Oh no, it's just me and Darius. Let me actually go back to this here. Look at that. And we're working out kinks for the first stream. By the way, we're only 50 subs away from 15K. I want to talk about this first. Gustav Lindstrom. Now, a lot of Habs fans, we all know Gustav Lindstrom because he played 14 games for Montreal last year. He had as many goals. He had 3 goals in Montreal in 14 games last year. In the rest of his 150 plus games in the NHL, he only had 2 combined. Jesse, I know he's more of a depth pickup here for Laval, but it's really cool to see him back with the organization. But I think we'll get to you in just a bit. We're trying to work out this order. But Nick and Darius, what do you guys think about our boy Gustav Lindstrom?
Go ahead, Darius.
So this is a guy that we actually talked about and we made a video during the summer on our channel because he was linked to the Leafs during the summer, funny enough. So, when you look at the Habs and this signing specifically, there's speculation that, it's a replacement for Reinbacher maybe. But, when you really look at it, this is a guy who played with the Montreal Canadiens last year. He's familiar with the organization. The organization's familiar with him. So it's more of just a depth signing. I think he's a right shot defenseman, which you can't really find around the league right now. So I don't think he's, going to come in and make a huge difference for the Canadiens, at least. He's going to go down to Laval. Probably depth signing, somebody who can, they can call up if there is an injury. So I don't know if there's anything crazy to it, but nice depth signing by the Canadiens for sure.
Yeah, intriguing. That's the only word I'll say for this one. It's intriguing, nothing too exciting, but it's something, and that's all you can take from it.
Well, it's really the fact that, the Laval Rocket really needs some depth, especially with that injury to Reinbacher and everything else. But this was a player, like, even with his couple games with the Montreal Canadiens, you could tell he always had that skill. Like, he would surprise you a couple times. Like, he definitely displayed, like, a really safe and kind of reliable type of game. But he had his moments where you could see there was a little bit of offense there as well. So definitely more of an AHL type of move here. But, we're definitely happy to have him back in the organization.
All depends if he gets claimed or not, but I think it is really interesting because, again, like, Jaden Struble is injured. You don't know if they're maybe going to call up someone like a Mayu, and if they do, and with Reinbacher injured, he's good filler for Laval. But all the same, guys, I know you guys have some other news before we get into the game as well, and it has to do with a certain goalie of yours.
Yeah, Joseph Wall, and again, we started off the morning by him being scratched from tonight's game. Anthony Stolarz obviously had a phenomenal game, but Maple Leafs have placed Joseph Wall on the injured reserve, which means he's going to miss the next 7 days, which means he's going to miss the next 3 starts, which sets up some very interesting things for the Toronto Maple Leafs, specifically a couple things here. For one, Anthony Stolarz had an unbelievable game despite the loss. That's a positive to take away. But Dennis Hildeby is looking to make his debut tomorrow night, which is very exciting. We saw him get called up to the Leafs last year. He ultimately did not play. They played Martin Jones the second night of a back-to-back. But Darius, I think Hildeby here is going to get hit the odd tomorrow for the first time in his career.
Yeah, I'm interested to get the Habs guys' thoughts on this as well on the outside looking in. But Joseph Wall, right? Like, the question mark coming into this season was health. It's not skill, right? We know he can be a starting goaltender in this league based on skill, but it's health. Can he stay healthy to do it? And, back-to-back games here that actually count that he hasn't played in. And he's not going to play for the next 3 games either. He's put on the IR, right? So a lot of question marks still, right? And this doesn't make me feel good or a lot of fans, right? Stolarz played fantastic. And obviously we're going to get into that. So that makes you feel a little bit better. But, you really want Hildeby to go down to the AHL Marlies and get a full season under his belt, get his confidence up and feel good about himself. And you don't want him, to come up to the Leafs too early. So this puts Hildeby in a bad spot as well. And, you got to look at Matt Murray as well. So Woll being out this early for something that is very simple, like lower body tightness, we don't know what that means. It's very interesting to say the least.
Yeah, Jesse, I'm gonna get your opinion on this too, because I know we talk a lot about Joseph Woll, and in these games that he's played, he is that starter caliber. But maybe eventually you guys can get this thought on it as well, Leafs fellas. But Woll has not played more than 30 games in any season. He has less than 40 games in his NHL career. So the thing with Joseph Woll is, yeah, he's injured a lot, but has he proven that he can be that long-term starter? I guess that's why they got Stolarz as well. But at the same time, like you said, especially early in the season, momentum can change pretty quick. And I know the Leafs are very talented, Jesse, but look, as Habs fans, we're very familiar with injuries, but an injury to a guy that you were banking on to at least start, I would assume in your guys' mind, at least 30, 40 games this year, it's a pretty big blow.
We know about key injuries to very important players to start off the season. So we definitely get you over at Leafs Digest, but that's the nature of the game. As Marty St. Louis says all the time, the league doesn't stop when somebody gets injured. You just need to adapt. But definitely this has been a key point of contention for the Habs, or rather for the Leafs. I'm so used to talking about them, that they really looking to improve upon. Having that consistency in net, right? And also getting that health is also so important. As you mentioned, Josh, just a career high of 25 games in the NHL, in a season. That's his career best right now. And they even kind of changed up his training regimen to hopefully kind of allow him to be a little bit more healthy. So I know it's not the best when there has been injury concerns and then that player's kind of getting some more injuries. It's definitely a part of the game. So it's just going to be for the Leafs to kind of hold it down for him until he's back.
Maybe if it was him tonight, it would have been a shutout, just saying.
Well, we can't both have shutouts, right? At this point. So
but you can if you go to a shootout.
That is true. It would count as a shutout. That's right.
Yeah. Well, boys, I think that's not a bad inaugural news segment, but I'm going to interrupt you guys just for a bit because we had something pretty big go down in the Habs chat right now as we have officially welcomed, I believe now our 5th Rocket Richard tier member, Mark Orr. Thank you so much, Mark Orr. Thank you to everyone in the chat. But Mark, if you want to reach out at any point on Instagram or Twitter, reach out to us, DM us. We'll add you to the Rocket Richard group chat. You'll have video calls. We had a video call with some Rocket Richard members tonight watching the game. You get all those perks. Thank you guys so much, Mark. Reach out. Brian's in here too, another Rocket Richard member. I'm sure Doug and Alex as well. So sorry for interrupting that, guys. Just saying, our fans are here to show love for us, and thank you again, Mark. Well, what do you guys say we hop into the game, eh?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay. So I suppose since the Habs won, I will. I had Gustav Lindstrom's thing up. We'll put up the box score. So, look, here's the thing, Jesse. I think we'll start this off with a brief discussion because for us, the big thing is our boy Cole Caulfield. And I actually have the video. Let me see if I can bring this video in here because that goal was just a thing of pure beauty. That Habs power play, even though that big two-man advantage definitely didn't go the way we wanted when it went down. We got Cole Caulfield's goal right here. I'll play that one more time for you. Even though that 5-on-3 didn't go well, people were calling for Lane Hutson. That first power play looked legitimately dangerous. This Habs team looked more aggressive than I think I've seen them in a long time. That's the one word I would use. And even though it slowed down as the game went on, Jesse, this one game filled me with, I think, more hope than I was expecting.
On both sides of the puck, really being quick. And that was really their key to success tonight, was really attacking open ice really quick. The D was really quick to move the puck, and obviously the forwards were creating great outlets. So really using that speed to really attack was so big. But on the defensive side as well, the reason that the Montreal Canadiens were able to shut out the Leafs, one of the teams with the most firepower in the NHL, was they were really getting in front of the players. They were really, their positioning, their forechecking just all night. I think was one of the big things is playing with that high up-tempo game. And Josh, that's one of the biggest takeaways. Montembeault for sure stood on his head to kind of finish this game, but our power play actually looking threatening early on. We know it's been kind of talked about already so much how bad it was in the preseason, but it just matters in the regular season, getting to it right away on our first power play. And again, not passing the puck too much. Like Marty said, knowing once you've kind of broken the PK, couple passes, then going for the right opportunity. So again, Doc, we know injured all of last year, to come back, get that early assist to set up the Slaf with just an amazing cross seam, pass with the finish to Cole. Like, so important for all these players to get off to a hot start. Cole Caulfield, we expect him, to be the best goal scorer on this team with Line A out. So the fact that him getting going early and just an overall this team effort, was just absolutely incredible to see.
Yeah, well, how'd you guys feel about the pace, Leafs fans? I mean, Monty sent on heads on one thing, but the pace was another thing. Though I will say, Leafs had a lot of high danger chances.
Yeah, I mean, I had the screenshot up, which is the box score, and unfortunately for the Toronto Maple Leafs, there's zeros all across the board, both for goals and assists, so there's not too much to show there. Obviously, it was a very good game. First period, the Habs outplayed the Leafs, there was no doubt about it, but I feel like, especially in the third period, they had a lot of shots on goal. They obviously outshot the Habs by a lot. Like you mentioned, there were a lot of high danger chances. They hit the post, I think, 3 times. But ultimately, there were also a lot of garbage shots that were pretty disappointing to me. I mean, obviously, the shot counter speaks for itself to a degree. But at some point, you have to get some better shots on net because it made Montembeault's job a little bit easier, even though still, credit to him, he had a great game. But his job was made a bit easy by some horrible chances. Shout out to OEL for the worst breakaway attempt I've ever seen in history as well.
That was weird. He like skated into the corner. That was so
away
weird.
From the net, bro.
Yeah, completely. That was. I guess he doesn't get too many breakaways, so understandable. But really, like you'd think you'd make a move. But anyway, there's a couple things I was looking at coming into this game. What the Leafs need to do, right? And one of them was obviously starting on time and getting in front of the net. Right. That was one thing. I was like, okay, Berube is gonna institute this new change, this new system. They have to get to the front of the net. And like you mentioned, a lot of these looks, yeah, Montembeault played great. Right. He did. There was a lot of really good looks from the slot as well. High danger. But a lot of the shots, like 45, 46, whatever they ended up with, were easy saves, right? Were like really just shots from the point, no traffic in front, typical Toronto Maple Leafs hockey from the last couple of years. And I think they're still trying to get it out of their system and they haven't figured it out yet. And again, it's game 1. I saw a lot of things today that I did like from the Maple Leafs, right? Like the cycling down low instead of up high. I'm so sick and tired of 3 players up high on the blue line and they're cycling and nothing's happening, but they're cycling it down low now. I'm liking that. They played heavy. A lot of guys played heavy. I saw it in the chat. And yes, I am wearing a suit. I'm sitting in the platinum section at the Scotiabank Arena, but we did see it tonight. A lot of guys are playing heavy, right? You're going to hear that word a lot this year, and a lot of guys were playing heavy. Matthews in on the forecheck 30 seconds into the game, throws a hit. That wouldn't have happened last year. So there's a little bit of a change. It's going to take some time to, getting used to that. But there are a couple of things I did like from the Leafs today. And again, the intensity was high. It felt like a playoff game, especially in the third period. Both teams, both ways. I thought the intensity for a 1-0 game was really high. It was really entertaining.
There's a lot of highlight reel plays. I mean, that new hook play in the third was absolutely wild. There were some crazy plays from like Barré-Boulet, who really impressed me, Jesse. I mean, but look, we can all go through down our whole rosters and list the players that maybe not everyone really talks about much and who had good games, who had bad games. But the one guy that I think we got to talk about, Jesse, is Lane Hutson. I mean, he had Habs fans just calling for him to immediately be on that first power play. Like, we're a couple minutes into his first NHL game. We're like, get him on the power play. That 5-on-3 was one of the most pathetic I've seen in a while from Montreal. But that's okay. It's their first of the season. You don't practice it very much, and Marty's going to drill that into him. But I know we'll get some of the Leafs fans' opinions on this, and I do think you guys made some good points about the Leafs, because there were lots of times I was legitimately scared. Like, there were times where the Leafs puck movement was like, bang, 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 and all of a sudden there's a shot 5 feet out from Monty, and, the Habs did benefit from a few posts, and Montembeault himself being an absolute stonewall. But, Jesse, Lane Hutson, to me, I think all Habs fans and Leafs fans and everyone on social media as a whole were like, this guy, there's something about this guy.
Yeah, and the team defense just as a whole really collapsing in front of the net to really limit the quality of the chances that the Habs, or rather that the Leafs were getting, was just huge early on. You can tell that this is something that Marty has concentrated on. They've been speaking about that team defense working together. So when you have a smaller guy like Lane, it kind of makes up for it when you're having so many other guys kind of helping you as well in front of the net. That was a major takeaway. I look to see that continue for the Habs this year. But for Lane Hutson, he didn't just shine in the offensive zone. He was good in all 3 zones. He was breaking up plays in the defensive end. And just the fact of just coming in with so much speed, being able to make moves on multiple different players in the offensive zone was just absolutely unreal. Like, we heard it, like, even before the game started. Josh, like, did he get the loudest applause out of any player? Like, this guy coming in already, like, the hype has just been getting at crazy levels so quick with this young player.
I mean, Laine was pretty close too. I mean, when they saw Laine in that purple
suit
towering over everyone else, that was pretty close. But no, I think it was like, what did you guys think, Nick and Darius, about Lane? Because He got Habs fans hyped. I don't know. Maybe you guys see a different side of the coin, but some of those plays. There's one point where he made Robertson look foolish too. It was just he's eventually he's going to get those points to fall for him, but I think he's just a joy to watch.
You go first, Darius. You got this one.
Josh, I think you're on point with, I think the points are going to finally fall for him, as the season goes on. He's a terrific skater, like the way he's so deceptive, right? And like we saw it against Tavares. Tavares, yes, he's getting old, but that was brutal. Like he just completely blew past Tavares and Nick Robertson, like you said. But there was a lot in today's game that, at least from what I saw, is empty calorie skating, I'll call it, where he's just making he's making some moves, right, and nothing really comes of it. And I don't know if that's necessarily his fault in this game, but I feel like the plays are going to come as the season goes on. It's the first game, right, and it was a 1-0 game, so I did see a lot of that today. But he is a tremendous skater, tremendous player, and like you said, Jesse, breaking up plays, like he was great defensively. And the Habs defense, I was actually quite surprised, because I know they have a great defensive core, but I was surprised how well they collapsed and protected the front of the net, because the Leafs, while not seeming interested to go there tonight, at least when they did, the Habs did a really good job at protecting that. So I was actually really surprised with that, and Lane Hutson led the way for me.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I was more impressed with his defensive play than his offensive play in tonight's game. Same with the Montreal Canadiens.
More impressed
in
or more surprised by?
Both. But
Okay.
obviously, like, you look at the Montreal Canadiens defense. We mentioned it, Darius. We spoke about this off stream and off camera. We were impressed by it. It was one of the biggest, points of the Montreal Canadiens, and they did exactly what they were supposed to do, but way better than I thought they were. And I also agree with Darius on the skating stuff. I mentioned this to you, Josh, as well, off camera. A bit too much skating for my liking, but I'll let you guys have your little. I think he held the puck a bit too long on several occasions, but I'm gonna let you guys have your Lane Hutson. I'd be doing the same thing if I was a Habs fan, so I'll let you.
I mean, I can't necessarily disagree that there were some points where maybe he could have made it, but again, for a guy in his third ever NHL game, I think he looks like a guy who's much more comfortable than that. But guys, I hate to do this again, but I got to interrupt because the Habs Digest chat is erupting. And Jesse, Simon Deschamps made a certain promise, and he made a certain promise that if the Habs won the game, we'd get a nice solid hundo, and he followed through. He said with $100 donation from Simon Deschamps. I'm a man of my word, Josh. Shuddy Monty. Leafs can suck it. Not going to condone that part. You guys take it what it is, but I'm reading it. Simon, you donate $100. You get me to read that out. Can't thank you enough, Simon. He said he made a killing on his parlay, so he's probably pretty well off tonight. But Simon, seriously, thank you. And not only that, we also have Dan L joining the Hat Trick tier membership for $9 a month. Dan, thank you so much. Jesse, anything to say to Simon before we get back to this game reaction?
Well, sir, you're definitely a man of your word. We definitely appreciate, the support as always, for sure. And, it's not all the time that we get in here with Leafs Digest, right? We gotta mix it up a little bit, right? So, that's all in good fun. As for the Lane Hutson, I think he was being creative out on the ice. I think he's looking to make something happen. It's not a coincidence that he's almost gotten a point in every single game that he's played in the NHL, whether it's in the preseason or the regular season already. The points are going to come. The reason why he's getting so much Calder hype is not because he's skating around the ice doing nothing. This guy's looking to make something happen. In fact, he's looking, to really push the play instead of just kind of dumping it in. It's just about the other players kind of getting on his wavelength to kind of find those open places, because he's going to hold on to the puck. He's going to make his guy miss, right? So he's just going to not only put himself in good positions, but also his teammates as well by those 2-on-1s that he's creating.
Now, I'm curious because, we're talking a lot about Habs players now, but I want to get into some Leafs players because, the Leafs were also in this game. There's one guy I wanted to get your guys' opinion on. I'm not going to say mine maybe until after, but what do you guys think of Max Domi tonight?
So this is interesting, right? Because he was getting booed, which I thought was pretty cool because I don't remember that last year, at all for some reason. I don't remember that, but that was fun. Pacioretty as well getting booed. But Domi tonight, I feel like I love Max Domi, okay? And I have his jersey on my wall behind me. But there was a moment in tonight's game in the first period where I feel like maybe possibly in trying to get the boys going, he put them on the penalty kill and completely killed their momentum that they had coming out of the gate, right? And that's something that he does regularly. We saw it last year. It's something that I think Habs fans like you guys are familiar with. If you talk to a Blackhawks fan, anybody, he does that. That's what he tries to do. He tries to get it going. He plays on the line, on the edge, right? So I think you have to accept that in his game. He did it tonight, and it's not the reason they lost, but it is something that you have to look at going forward. But I love what he brings to the game. He plays heavy. He always has, right? He was in and around it all night, and I like him with Tavares and Nylander. There's something to that line. It's very early still. They didn't play at all together last year, at least Domi with those two. So, you know, it's going to take some time getting used to. And Nick, I'll throw it to you too. But I think there was lots to like from Domi tonight, but also like when he plays on the edge like that, it's frustrating sometimes.
Yeah, and immediately out of the gate for the first maybe minute and a half, 2 minutes, we actually saw the Leafs play well and play with some tenacity. We haven't seen this in a while. And then, like you mentioned, it was killed immediately with the Domi penalty. And ultimately, on their second penalty, they scored a goal. The Montreal Canadiens did. So, yeah, I like the way he played after that, but that was a bit of a buzzkill. That being said, the Leafs should be able to, pick Max Domi up after that. I can't put any of the blame on Max Domi. I can put some of it, but they got to be able to score a goal. And the entire game, they scored less than 10 minutes into the first period. So, I like the way he played, besides that one mistake. But ultimately, I mean, it's the way he plays, and you kind of get those things with the way his play style. So I'll take a penalty here and there. It's on the Leafs to capitalize on their other chances. So I'm not going to blame too much on Domi there.
Yeah, definitely part of the game there for sure, and he is a player that, he does have, even in his time in Montreal, like we liked him because we know he's got that speed. He has that skill. He just plays on the edge. But you could tell after that penalty, like, he could tell that he made a mistake. He could tell he was maybe a little bit down on himself with that, but, Leafs, like, it's definitely, you need those players that are willing to mix it up. It's always such a fine line, like, right? Like players, they have to look at more of like the refs, not so much as robots, but just kind of putting themselves in their positions. It's hard to make these calls a lot of the time there, but, definitely he was good in his time in Montreal. We definitely wish him all the best in Toronto.
For sure. All right. You guys got anything you want to ask us? I feel like I've been asking you guys a lot of questions. Well, what's on your mind?
So I'll take it from here. I mean, when you look at the Leafs superstars, again, I'm getting deja vu from 2021 tonight, right? Where you're expecting Matthews to come out and do what he did last year and score 3 goals. Mitch Marner, there's been all this talk, during the summer, and I'll throw it to you guys in a second. But, Mitch Marner, all this talk of the training this summer, he's ready to go. It's a contract year. I feel like he didn't do much or even seemed, uninterested at times on the ice. What did you guys see on the Habs side, at least from the Leafs superstars tonight? Because Nylander seemed interested at times. I also feel like on the power play, maybe they're trying to save energy. I don't know what it is, but they do not play with any gumption for some reason. They're just really just trying to get shots, and they look really robotic at times. So what did you guys see from the Leafs superstars specifically? Because I didn't see a whole lot tonight, and that's pretty concerning because this is a game you want to get up for.
Jesse, I think I'll let you tackle that one first. What do you think?
The player that stood out for me on the Leafs the most was Nylander. Again, like it's just him kind of attacking the offensive zone with speed. We saw him ringing off the post that very much could have been the equalizer, and we're having a different conversation here. So he's one of the players that for me kind of was able to kind of take the bull by the horns and really kind of impose his will on at certain points a little bit more than maybe some of the other stars, from him. But, I know that he's obviously expecting even more from himself, but, I was definitely impressed with his game the most.
For me, like, I think they all had I'm just going to shout out really quick. Tony Lloyd, thank you for the $2 super chat. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
But the big thing for me is like, when you look at the Leafs, like all 3 guys had their moments where they kind of scared me. Like, honestly, I feel like I had the most heart attacks. Like I'm seeing some people in chat say when Matthews had the puck, that one spin around kind of no look backhander that hit the crossbar, absolute filth, and was nearly in. And right near the end too, there was another chance where I was like clutching my jersey, like hoping that it wasn't going to go in. Marner, I found, wasn't noticeable on offense for the Leafs. Like, I feel like I didn't feel scared by him when the Habs were on defense. I did feel scared at times from Matthews and Nylander, though I will say Marner had a couple really nice skill plays. There was one where Suzuki was coming down. He tried like a nice little kind of in the air sauce pass down towards the corner, and Marner, while skating backwards on a fast pass, just batted it down out of the air and started to rush the other way. So, not to say they all had horrible games, but I got to say, to me, it's not so much that one stood out most. It was that of those 3 guys, I know Tavares a little below them, though I didn't think he had a terrible game. To me, it was Marner that stood out the least.
Yeah, I was going to mention Marner's defense. Yeah, it was better than his offense, which is funny enough. You can say that for almost every one of the Leafs players tonight, because again, for the 19th time, they got shut out. But yeah, Stars need to do better. It's as simple as that. And Matthews had a few good tries, and there was a little bit of unluckiness there with the crossbar 3 times. The Matthews one especially, I thought that was in. We saw Steven Lorentz, which is the correct way to pronounce it now. We were right.
I've been telling everybody.
But Steven Lorentz had a chance there on almost a breakaway. You had so many chances, OEL, but they were unable to do anything, and it's game 1, though. So I'm not going to put too much into it. The Stars need to be better, but at the end of the day, it's game 1. So they play tomorrow against the Devils, and I'm not really worried. However, you were right that, the Habs outplayed the Leafs today, at least according to the score.
Yeah, I was
That's
gonna
what
say,
matters,
like,
I guess.
yeah, like third period was pretty one-sided. I can't deny, but yeah, it's that we got a lot of people. Hi, Denise in chat too. Denise, one of our longtime supporters members. Got to shout him out. But guys, like, look, here's the thing for me. The Leafs did come back strong in the second half of that game. You could argue even from early in the second period, but you know, the one thing I wanted to mention as well is just again the fact of how much Montreal looked like they wanted this game versus Toronto. And I don't know if that comes from again years of like this is just like such a stereotype for Toronto, and I hate to keep beating the dead horse, but like Toronto looked amazing, and they looked like the better, more skilled team for big chunks of this game. There was lots of guys making great plays. I thought Simon Benoit had a couple amazing defensive plays. Like even the depth guys are doing great. But at the end of the day, those hustle plays, the times where there was a loose puck, the times where like you're putting your body on the line, I just felt like it was Montreal more. Jesse, did you feel that same thing? I know we'll toss it over to them in a bit, but to me, it was that heart that Montreal did show a bit last season as well. But to come out the gate flying like that, I think set a really good tone for the season.
Just playing quick and being first to the puck, I think was like a big one tonight. And again, like the Habs play the best when they're playing a little bit more of like a north-south type hockey, because they're best when they're playing speed instead of kind of thinking and going D to D, kind of making these passes. No, you see an opening, getting it up ice quickly, and then you're really putting the Leafs on their heels with defend when obviously it's an offensive team. Like that's where you want to be playing against the Leafs, right? If you're going to be playing too much in your defensive zone against the Leafs, it's definitely not a winning strategy. So you really need to push the puck up the ice. So that was a big thing. I loved how Martin St. Louis started with the top line to really begin this game. You know, obviously this are our best players on this team for a reason. And it's really for them to kind of lead the example, because if we don't got them showing up, obviously, you know, they're the foundation of this team. So the fact of like, you know, our young guys really getting a great start early on this season, I think was just so huge, you know. But again, yeah, it was the pace of play. I was just really impressed by the forecheck. Like they weren't giving too much time and space really to any type of Toronto players. But again, it's just Josh, like I'm so surprised to see just the power play though. That's like looking so good. Like again, being decisive both on the power play, but then also with the decision making and moving the puck quick up the ice. Just playing with that pace, I think in all centers of their game was really their key to success.
I think the pace, the decision making were some of the best we've seen. We'll get your guys' Leafs opinions, but again, I hate to do this again, interrupt this, but we got another big dono, Jesse. This time from Tony Loy, one of our longest serving channel members.
Tony.
A cool 50 from Tony coming in here. No message. Yeah, he does. He said, "I just seriously love this chat, guys. This is what being a hockey fan's about, in my mind. Chatting with you guys, Leafs and Habs. So appreciate you so much, Tony. That's unbelievable. Yeah, thank you so much. But the Leafs guys, like I know we kind of put the Leafs down a little bit there, saying they didn't have that urgency to their game. And feel free to defend yourselves, or maybe you saw that as well. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that front.
So I'd love to chalk it up to it being the first game of the year, right? And that the Leafs have a new coach, new systems. We talked about it a little bit on stream already earlier. I would love to chalk it up to that. But there's a lot of things, like you mentioned, like the hustle and being hungry on that puck when it's a loose puck, that wasn't there again tonight. And it's not always there the last couple of years, right? And it's this mentality that they've been able to, I don't know, just be able to do that the last couple of years and rely on their skill, right? So I'm really glad that you brought that up, Josh, because I saw it again last night, or tonight, I should say, sorry.
Yeah.
I saw it again, right? And I saw it on the power play. There's a lot of times where the Habs player is rushing towards the puck. He wants that puck, and the Leafs are like, I guess you could have it, right? They got to beat that out of their game. They got to get that out of their game. And Craig Berube is going to try, right? It is the first game. You do have to chalk it up a little bit to that, because I did see some things tonight where, you know, what I think the Habs are really good at, and what I saw tonight is they play quick and they make the simple plays, right? And the Leafs love to overcomplicate things, and that's been their bread and butter the last couple of years. Everything has to be as complicated as possible. And I saw some plays on the defensive side, at least, that was more simple, just quick little chip plays off the glass, whatever, or behind the back to the other defenseman behind the net. So I saw a little bit of that. But I think the Habs did that better than the Leafs, and sometimes that wins you hockey games, especially 1-0 games, and it's going to win you games in the playoffs. So I saw that again tonight. They have to stop overcomplicating things, and I think it's going to get better as the season goes, because I already saw some things in their game tonight that has changed from last year, but they just have to get better at it and get more consistent and just make the simple play, right? The Habs were better at it. They were quicker. That's the thing too. There's a difference between quickness and speed, and the Habs were just quicker tonight, and that made the difference even after one goal. So Nick, I don't know what you saw as well, if you saw the same thing, but that's something we've been battling as fans for the last couple of years, because they have to get rid of that out of their game.
Yeah, the simplicity thing was true. They needed to do that. You saw how when the Canadians did it, it worked, even if they didn't score every time. I will play a bit of devil's advocate. I think they played really well in the second and third period. Obviously, the first period, that's what it's going to stick in everybody's mind. I think if you replay this game, I'd say 5 or 10 times, there's a good chance that the Leafs come out on top in a lot of those ones. That's not to take anything away from the Canadians. I just think they played. Obviously, fans are going to be upset. My chat's going to be mad that they lost and all these things. I thought they played fine. Yeah, they could have done better at, high danger chances and getting in there more. They had a ton of shots on goal, and I counted probably just off the top of my head now 8, 9, or even 10 that could have easily been goals, especially 3 of the crossbar ones, inches away from being goals. So I do agree that, the Stars have to play better and that they have to play a bit less lackadaisical. But for me, from halfway through the second onwards, you can even argue through the second onwards, they played with a purpose. Craig Berube clearly told them to play better, and they looked like a different team in the second and third period. The shots didn't go their way. I'm not giving them excuses. It is the first game of the year, but I thought they were the better team tonight by a significant margin in the third period. Second period, you can chalk it up, and obviously in the first period is the Habs. So I don't know. I'm not worried at all, but I think they played fine. I'm not going to hate on them too much here. I literally think they had a very, very good game, and that if you would have played this against most teams in the NHL, even against a goalie that wasn't unbelievably hot tonight like Montembeault, you probably win this game 9 out of 10 times.
You know what? I think I give him that. What do you think, Jesse? I don't think that's a crazy take. I do think the Leafs played pretty darn well for half this game.
Yeah, the big thing was, though, is Marty actually mentioned in one of the intermissions that they were getting a lot of chances, but they were also shots from far away, kind of getting bounces. So it's like they got a lot of shots, but the quality wasn't always there. Again, I was surprised to see the team defense from the Habs. Like I was mentioning, we were watching it with some of them. Remember, there's 4 guys in front of Monty when there was rebounds. There's 4 guys with sticks looking to kind of hit away, and that's what you really kind of need sometimes. With the Habs. Again, we're at a point where we don't have those superstars all the way, fully fledged all the way. So you definitely need to play like a solid team game. Otherwise, you are going to get burned. We know the star players. If you make one mistake against the Leafs, it's going to cost you. So it's a huge testament to the Habs, starting off the season with a shootout, when the biggest thing going into training camp was team defense. We know Habs were one of the teams that got scored the most on last year, right? So we can't really underestimate what an effort it was for the Habs tonight, to obviously come out with the W, because definitely not an easy competition. We're missing, one of our best players out of the lineup, right? Still a very young team by design in so many different ways. So this was a really hard fought win for sure. The Leafs were getting the chances. There's many times where the Habs should definitely concentrate on getting the puck out of the zone. They got caught in some really long shifts at certain times, but that's really a trial by fire for a lot of these young guys, even Lane Hutson, Matheson. I want to throw it to the Leafs guys right now. Who do you think's better right now? Hutson or Matheson? If you were doing PP1, is Matheson on it or is Hutson happening just from game 1 right now?
Matheson.
I'm also going to go with Matheson.
Spicy.
And I've been a big fan of Mike Matheson even since Pittsburgh. I think he's a fantastic player and he has more NHL experience. I don't think it's not a knock against Lane Hutson, right? I think Matheson is just more calm, cool, collected at this point right now. I could see Hutson taking over halfway through the season, right? I could see that. So I'm not saying Hudson's a bad player. All right, calm down, right? But if any of that's going on, right, that's not what I'm saying. I think
NHL
experience
going wild for Hutson.
Yeah, and for good reason. He's a good player. But I think, right now, NHL experience has a lot to do with a lot of different situational play and special teams. So I'm biased. I like Mike Matheson. I think he's a great player. So I would go Matheson, but halfway through the season or in the future, definitely Hutson.
I think it's a burden to take on that role as well, a burden on your shoulders, but also we talk a lot about in our videos, Jesse, about kind of the message that you want to send to your team. And having a guy like Matheson, this veteran who's coming off a career high in points and an incredible amount of power play points, after one game, a fan saying Lane Hutson looked so good, put him on the PP1. They're going to put him there when they feel it's right to put him there. But after, I'm not going to lie, coming out of this game, I do wish Hutson was on the power play over Matheson, but I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. I still think Matheson's amazing, and I think we'll see a lot of more stuff. I did want to go back in the chat, though, because, we had a lot of donated memberships. So I just want to thank C-Note Music and Simone Desjardins for 5 gifted channel memberships each. You guys can check out all our members-only videos, priority response in chat, and I'll just shout out the names of the people who are now members. Simon Tupper, Kevin Lajoie, Vincent Drouin-Pelletier, Z-Blade1, Xavier Hogue, Danique Sanzano, Shane Picard, Kingsley Justine, Annika Hughes, and Jakub Yankovic. You're all now channel members. one thing before I think we get near the close out of this thing. There's one thing I wanted to mention. Just to kind of circle back to what we were talking about, Leafs versus Habs, Habs defense in front of their own net. It felt to me like the Habs had way more scrambles in front of the Leafs net than the Leafs did in front of the Habs net. Leafs had a lot of high danger chances, but when it comes to like people there like banging away for like maybe a chance at a rebound, felt like the Habs were there in the Leafs end. And it also felt like it was the Habs swatting it away from their own net more than the Leafs were there. So that was kind of my view too. Again, they felt really aggressive, but I was thinking about, ending this thing off on something maybe a little more of a positive note. And I want to know who your guys' player of the game for the Leafs is, because it can't all be negative for the Leafs. I mean, look, you guys lost. Habs beat you guys 1-0 in the season opener. Can't feel good. But there's got to be someone that stood out to you. And I'm just curious who it is for you. And Jesse, I think we'll get into ours for Montreal and maybe even for the Leafs as well.
I'll start, Darius. I think we all know what the answer is going to be here. And it is Anthony Stolarz, without a doubt.
Right.
And I've been on the Stolarz train for a while. I've been saying since they signed him a couple months ago that he's going to turn into the 1A goalie, and I was pleasantly surprised. I think at this point now, Darius, unless, depending how long Wall is out, I just think Stolarz he had a great game. I'm just going to leave it there. Phenomenal goalie, and he was the only reason this game wasn't 3-0 after the first period, where if it was Samsonov last year, not to throw shade to him, actually to throw shade to him, if it was Samsonov last year, it probably would have been 3 or 4-0, and I was texting that at the time. That's after the first period, and he had some unbelievable saves, just as Montembeault did, but Anthony Stolarz, no doubt about it for me.
Yeah, calm, cool, and collected. I'm going to pick Connor Timmins. I'm just kidding. I just wanted to see if our chat was going to get fired up because there's a lot of controversy around that. If I'm going to play devil's advocate in that way, maybe Steven Lorentz. I thought, in the role that he plays, like he was fantastic tonight and he brought exactly what he's going to need to bring to the team. So in that way, sure, maybe Steven Lorentz, but it was Anthony Stolarz, right? Like we didn't know exactly what we were going to get out of him. We know he's a good goaltender, and obviously we need to see what we're going to get over the course of a full season, but it was a really welcome surprise. Maybe not even surprise, but just it felt different today. It just felt like, whenever a Canadiens player took a shot, like there was even a couple scrambles, like you mentioned, Josh, with Gallagher in front, for example, and he made a big save. And I was like, that just doesn't happen last year, right? So I was like, oh, great. My confidence is kind of building up here. So yeah, Stolarz for sure, player of the game. He was fantastic. And, the Leafs are going to need him to be for the full season. He's going to take on a much bigger workload than he ever has, right? And he's, halfway through his NHL career at this point at 30 years old. So, he's been in the league a while and he's going to take on a bigger workload. But definitely Anthony Stolarz. But I'm interested to see from you guys as well who your Habs player of the game was.
Jesse, why don't you take it away? I put up a poll in our chat, and right now it's at about 95% for one player. So I think we all have the same idea here.
Are we talking about Lane Hutson here?
No, it's not Lane, unfortunately. You got a few.
Really not. Okay, we're talking about
I have an idea.
We are talking about Monty. Absolutely.
How about that glove save that he made tonight? I think that was, and a couple of those shoulder ones, like it wasn't always pretty. Right? But he just made it work. He was honestly looking really quick in the net for me, which is always kind of surprising to see. He's kind of cool, calm, collected, but his movement side to side, this guy has been putting in work in the offseason because I'm not used to seeing him move that quicker. That was definitely quicker than last season. So again, he showed a tremendous amount of poise. There was some time where there was that extended, pressure in the offensive zone, and he really held it down. Yeah, I think the chat's got it right. Samuel Montembeault was absolutely unreal tonight.
It was at 100% for a bit, but I the options is Monty, Caulfield, Hutson, or other. Monty is coming in right now. I'll just end it at 66 votes because there's no need to check anymore. 89% of the vote does go to Monty. 8% does go to Caulfield. I also wanted to talk maybe a bit about the Leafs. Now, again, I'm not paying as much attention to the Leafs players as I am Habs players. But there was one guy, Stolarz was probably my player of the game for the Leafs, but as I mentioned earlier, I don't know, maybe I missed some misplays from him, but I know Simon Benoit is not there to do very much, but I thought in his role, I thought that he kind of did exactly what his role needed him to do. I'm not going to say he jumped off the page at me as some crazy good player, but did you guys kind of see that same thing from him? Or was there anyone also from the Habs that you kind of noticed as I kind of didn't expect them?
I'm gonna start with I don't have the animation on me, but we are a part of the Benoit train. We were part of that
to the right guys
as soon as they got him last year. And I will say I didn't notice it as much because I think we're used to him doing that all of last year, to where you don't really notice what he does out there, and that means that he's usually doing a good job. He basically does exactly what he's paid to do and penciled in to do. I love the game at him. I do want to give an honorable mention to Matthew Nyes as well. I think he had a pretty good game. He used his body very, very well. I saw several times where he won the puck battle. I didn't see many times where he lost the puck battle, and now obviously heading in to, he's playing now for a couple of years. seeing him develop that way was a big sign to me. And using his body, that's his ability, and that's what he can do. And I think this is going to be a big breakout year for him. So I think he just wanted to throw an honorable mention out there to Matthew Knies. He would have been my player of the game if I didn't pick Anthony Stolarz, because he was one of the only players I noticed out there on the ice tonight not doing cardio.
That's right. There was quite a bit of cardio going on. But I think with the Simone Benoit thing, and obviously we've been on the Simone Benoit train for a year now at this point, and he's kind of turned into TJ Brody from a couple of years ago. Leaf fans will remember, where you don't really talk about him at all. And I think that's a good thing, because he's doing his job, right? He's quiet. He's not going to score. He's not going to, like, he scored 1 goal last year, went off a skate. He's not going to score for you. He's not going to do these crazy big plays. He keeps it simple, up off the glass, right? He's going to separate his man from the puck. His gap control is really good, right? He's physical. So he just does his job really well. So you never mention him. It's quiet. It's great. I love it. So you don't really notice him too much, unless you're really looking for it. So I would totally agree with that. And on the Habs side of things, at least, somebody I noticed that stood out tonight, and because he missed almost the entire season last year, is Kirby Dach. I'm glad that he's back for Habs fans, because that is such a dynamic player on that second line, right? And he adds so much depth and length to that lineup. So to have him back is huge for the Montreal Canadiens. And if he can stay healthy, he's going to have a great year. This is a great player who everyone forgets is so young still. Like, he's just started his NHL career. So for me, it would definitely be Kirby Dach.
I think that's a good choice. I need to get the Kirby animation back, but it is what it is. It's really, really interesting. I think there's some good stuff from all parts. There is one thing, I got to go one more super chat here before I think we get near the end of the stream. It is from Derek. It's $5. And I don't know if you guys want to participate in this, the Leafs Digest, but he basically just says $5. Said, could the boys give my daughter Maya a shout out? She's currently 15 years old and made the under 18 AA Cape Breton Blizzards. Thank for the Habs content. Well, thank you, Derek. Longtime channel member as well. Shout out Maya. You want to give a little quick shout out to Maya, Jesse? Man?
Yeah,
you guys too?
Absolutely. Well done. Keep up the good work. You got this. It's all about that hard work, that good attitude. Keep it up.
Shout out Maya. Job.
Shout out Maya.
Shout out Maya. Thank you. All right, boys. Well, I think we're probably getting near the end here. Montalban, by the way, I just realized, set a record for most saves in a shutout in a season opener in NHL history.
Of course he did.
And also, what is that? The first time in 277 games the Leafs were shut out as well?
I think almost the entire Sheldon Keefe era, and now we're out of it. So
that seems so
bring
crazy
Keefe back. No, I'm just kidding.
Bring him back. You're playing New Jersey tomorrow.
We're going to see him tomorrow.
Grab him from the other bench. You know who we're playing tomorrow? Do you know who we're playing? No. Back-to-back nights, Boston. And then we play Ottawa, our other top rival, Saturday. 3 games in 4 days versus Toronto, Boston, and Ottawa.
If we're talking schedule, just to interrupt for a second, if we're talking schedule, whoever scheduled that, they knew what was going on. All right, with the Leafs, they did this on purpose. We got the first night against Montreal Canadiens, classic. We know what's going on. The next night is in New Jersey against their former coach, and then on Saturday night, the home opener is against their former GM Kyle Dubas in the Pittsburgh Penguins. Bro. So they knew exactly what they were doing with this first week. The storylines write themselves. Habs
got Pens on Monday, I think. I think that's one of those Amazon Prime games. We got the
first one, yeah.
Interesting thing. And Crosby, there's going to be some good stuff. That Penguins team, they didn't look very good tonight, hey? I don't know if you guys saw that game.
Not great.
No, Lafreniere looks good. But anyway, boys, is there anything we want to get into before we end this off? I think this is probably hitting near the end of it. I think we went longer than we expected, but I had a ton of fun here.
I'm going to throw one question out there. Just one last one before we end up. As a Habs fan, both of you guys, of course, what did you think about Christopher Tanev's debut with the Toronto Maple Leafs? And Darius, I want to get your opinion as well. I'm not going to sway your guys' opinion either way, but it was Tanev's debut, and what are your thoughts?
Like I said, I haven't really been watching too many of the Leafs players, but to me, I feel like the only time I can specifically remember seeing him was in like the opening intros, like they panned the camera to him. And I know he was fine on the defensive end. Like I know he was out there. I was aware of him. But that's also kind of the thing, like you mentioned earlier. Sometimes it's good to not be noticed. And again, I'm not really trying to pay attention too much to him. Jesse, did you have anything different? I just found he didn't stand out to me personally, but I am a little bit biased.
It's one of those things as a defenseman. Often when you're not standing out the most, you're kind of doing your job, especially for him, a little bit more of a defensive guy. You would say as a prototype, it's probably, what the Leafs are really looking for in a lot of ways. What they need, kind of like a Simone Benoit, like why he's so important for that team is kind of bringing like a little bit of that sandpaper again. That willingness to kind of get implicated into the game, I think, is always big. I think the big idea with Tanev is kind of in the playoffs. That's where you really kind of see the value of him. That's why they're really bringing him on, is for that time of the year. So I think that would be really his time to shine.
Yeah, the Leafs brought a lot of guys this year for that reason when it gets to the playoffs, right? So in games like this, they might not shine. But again, he was
Him.
quiet, and I think that's okay. I liked his game, right? It was simple and quiet. And his job, and we talked about it on the channel, his job this season is to make sure that Riley stands out, not himself, right? Like and it's a new defensive pairing. And Riley has been playing with guys that, should not be in the NHL for the last couple of years, honestly, quite frankly. So he's got to get used to it too. And there was a couple of times tonight that they looked discombobulated, but Tanev didn't do anything egregious. Like, he was pretty quiet and supported his defensive partner. And I think that's his job. So Riley can kind of go off and do his thing. So I liked his game today. And I think it's only going to get better. They have to get comfortable with each other. And they really didn't play much in the preseason either. Like, these top guys didn't really get into too many games. So it's a work in progress for sure. Like, they're going to need a couple games here to get up to speed. And I'm not worried yet. I just wish that they would have scored a goal tonight.
Yeah, I thought he was fine.
I thought he was fine. I didn't think he was bad. Like, I honestly didn't notice too many people being like bad for either team, which is kind of crazy, Jesse, to think that I didn't really think any of the Habs defensemen were bad in their own zone. Even Justin Barron looked reasonable defensively. I thought that was kind of a nice thing too.
Yeah, just a bad penalty. But again, even for like
Habs
players, it's like nobody really stood out like offensively. It was the team effort, which you got to feel like Marty's gonna like. It's all about kind of that team game. Again, playing a game that's bigger than you're just yourself. Because often if you're playing your best, you're not making it about yourself. You're not trying to go on these one-man rushes, trying to take on the entire decor. You're working as a unit. You're making good reads, right? So I think that was the biggest thing for the Habs. Like, there is no way they're coming out with the W tonight unless they're having a solid team effort, right? Like Doc starting off, getting a point. Slaf, that's really important for him because it's not a given for him just to continue on his pace from the end of last year. Like, it's really important for him to start on time this season. So to see him making key plays to really help the Montreal Canadiens win this game, I think was absolutely huge just as a part of this overall win.
I was about to bring that up. You guys didn't mention Slaf the entire stream. Very different now that Lane Hudson's into the mix there. I was gonna bring that up, but
I will say Slaf looked solid. I mean, we didn't even really mention him, but he did have that. They've got the Slafzilla animation playing on our stream right now. He did have that fantastic pass in the Caulfield play, that amazing saucer right across OEL's doorstep, basically right over to Caulfield. And I thought Slaf played a really good game. There's so many other things to talk about tonight. Hutson did steal that spotlight in a lot of ways. Montembeault with one of the best opening night goalie performances in NHL history, apparently. And so, yeah, they kind of stole the show. But I mean, there's other guys that we didn't mention. Suzuki, right? Like, and the only time we mentioned Matheson was whether Hutson was better. I think Slav had a good game. I thought he used his body well. He won some puck battles. I thought he had again, that pass to Caulfield was nasty. That Godok Slav to Caulfield thing was good. But yeah, I mean, I think that's it from them. And I know from you guys, like, the only time you brought up Pacioretty was when he got booed. What were your other thoughts on Patches? I know some people have mixed opinions. Some people said he was solid. Some people said he was trash. Just maybe a quick opinion from you guys on what you thought of him.
Darius, I
think we're split.
Yeah, we are split. I'll let you start, and then I'll end it, and then we can wrap up.
Not a great debut, honestly. Not a great debut. I thought he looked really slow tonight, whereas I don't think he did in the preseason as slow as this. I think his chemistry with Robertson, or growing chemistry with Robertson, is good, because if they're going to play in the third line together, obviously you want some offense out of that line. So even though it's quote unquote the checking line right now, but he started really slow. He took that penalty. I thought that was dumb. A couple giveaways, just not an ideal start. Maybe he was nervous. First game back in Montreal, by the way, since he was traded way back when, which is crazy. That's right. That's nuts. Yeah, he might have just been nervous. I'm going to chalk it up to that. I'm going to give him a shot because I think that he does bring value to this team. But at least, if we're talking about the first game performance, he looked nervous and he didn't look that engaged.
Yeah, no. Realistically, he had an okay debut. I think at the start he looked very bad, but I noticed there was a lot of times where he made some great passes that could have turned into goals. At least 3 or 4 times there. Obviously, not the best debut. He had some. I'm a huge Pacioretty. I have a jersey incoming, so I'm gonna have to just ride the train whether or not he's
really.
Chat voted. But
you're
also
number 77 Leafs.
Yes, I am indeed. The chat, you can thank the chat for that one. But I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a great debut by any means. He definitely had some bad plays, but he had a ton. He looked slow, I will admit that, especially compared to the preseason. But he had a ton of really good passes. He had like a behind the back pass that could have led to a goal. He had another pass that could have led to a goal. So talking about a lot, I have the Leafs they didn't score. I almost barely scored. They didn't score a single goal. he was one of the guys that created some offensive chances in a game where a lot of the stars didn't. So, I mean, if we're going to, hate on Pacioretty for having a bad game, we have to hate on the other guys as well, because he was one of the players who gave him a chance to score and didn't just shoot. Like Jesse mentioned, a lot of non-high danger chances. Pacioretty was one of the one players who actually generated for his teammates some good chances. So I can't, fault him too much there. I think he had a fine game. Not great, but neither did the rest of the Leafs team. So he was one of the only players to me that stood out as generating some high danger chances. So I'll take it.
That is fair. I think that's a fair take. And before we move on, really quick, since we're on Pacioretty, I think starting the season off with a shutout for the first time in 200 and whatever games, like you mentioned, Josh, and you have a player on the team wearing 67, I'm going to take that as a sign that maybe good things will happen. That's the way I'm going to take it, at least, because there's a lot of weird things going on right now. So, but I'll throw it over to you guys.
Any last thoughts on Patches, Jesse?
He's one of those players, like even going back to the preseason, he just finds a way to make himself dangerous on the ice. Like, as Nick mentioned, like maybe not the most fleet of foot out there, but again, he just knows those kind of soft spots on the ice to get to make himself still effective. So it just shows that his mind for the game is still absolutely there. And probably it goes to show like a player that probably this young Leafs team really needs, kind of getting those little bit of those dirtier areas, right? Where the goals definitely come, and especially in the postseason as well. So again, probably a player with that kind of in mind as well, with that experience. So of course, we're wishing him all the best in Toronto.
Yeah. Now, was I mistaken, or was there a time where it was? I didn't look at the Leafs lines. I'm not going to be honest. I'm going to be honest. But was there a time where it was like Pacioretty, Nyes, and Domi? Was that the line that was rolling tonight? But I saw those three on the ice at the same time at one point, and I thought that's not the line, right?
I think it was a mix of like the power play had just been out, and guys were changing.
He was on the third line, I believe.
Yeah. Yes.
That's what I thought. But it was like a semi-extended. It was like 25 or 30 seconds. I was like, that's interesting.
I think somebody just didn't come off. Yeah.
Nyes is on the first line, right? I think. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nyes,
Matthews, Marner.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, boys. Well, I think that was a ton of fun. I think the fans were super thrilled with this. We had a ton of fun. Any final comments before we close out this inaugural episode?
I hope that next time the Toronto Maple Leafs play the Montreal Canadiens, Connor Timmins, I do not see him with my 2 eyeballs. I'll just say that. That's how I'll end the game. That's how I'll end the stream. If you made it this far, you can comment about the timestamp.
Comment about Connor Timmins in our chat too, please.
I do wonder if we do see Connor Timmins at that point, but I will say that this won't be the last time we do this. This was a lot of fun, and you will be seeing the 4 of us together again.
Absolutely.
Definitely a lot of fun. Really enjoyed it. This new format, first time ever kind of doing this. At Digest Media, we're always creating, we're always trying new things. So this is absolutely incredible. Please feel free to check out our other channels as well. And thank you guys too, for all the fans coming in. It's just so nice to kind of engage when we have both fan bases kind of going back and forth. Hockey, it's really, we're all Canadians at the end of the day. It's a community thing, even though we got fans all across the world, so this has been so much fun. So thank you guys all for tuning in.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys. I don't know. What do you think? I want to thank Tony and Simon and Derek and all the people who were generous enough to donate in chat as well. What do you think? We do the outro because Habs won? That cool with you guys?
Yeah,
that's fair.
We will. Just quick note for us. We'll be live tomorrow after the game for the Sheldon Keefe one. So anyone who's in here, Landshark Chan, everyone who tuned in, thank you. But we will be live tomorrow after the game. And I will be wearing this ridiculous hat on every win. This wasn't a win, but it's a win in my books.
It is pretty cool though.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I should go to Spirit Halloween, and I don't know if I want to get the top hat, but something anyway. Oh, there you go. There's the look. We'll end it there. That'll do it for this live episode of Habs Digest X Leafs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, and subscribe to both the channels, whichever chat you're in. We'd really, really appreciate it. Josh Goss, for my co-host Jesse Poirier, Nick Gosse, and Darius Domingues. We'll catch you guys in the next one.
And we'll see you guys tomorrow.